Hey everybody! Now I'm back to continue the conversation to do with my visionary state experiences, and today I want to talk about that hopeless feeling that we're working with, okay? Um, I guess if we could break it down into parts, when I tell that first part of my story where I was going to visionary state and I had a little boyfriend, if I could label that as a chapter, I would call it Don't Forget Me, Billy, because he just kept saying, Don't forget who I am or you may never see me again. And that's more of a pleasant part of my visions. I think, meeting Billy was kind of fun, except for maybe, the fist fight I talked about. And then, there's a few things that happen in between. But then I get to Denver and we're going like, 98, 99, 2000. I like to look at that part as the crazy making experience. So this is really hard to work on. And so it's taken a while to work up to it and get through it. And it's like I kind of want to, do sort of a recap and a reflect before I move forward into the other phases of my life and experiences to do with these. And so in this case, I'm going to be dealing with that hopeless feeling and the bad stuff that we're dealing with here, which is depression, like my personal depression and how I'm experiencing that. But at the same time, I want to make the next video to do with how we're dealing with that and how I'm making things right, more of a uplifting conversation. So that way, I don't need people to try to recommend therapy and all that stuff. I really don't need that advice right now. I'm just kind of sharing kind of how something that half my lifetime ago was affecting me, and it does affect me to this day. But I've had so much time, to process it, right? So what we got to think about is processing the past. I was almost wondering if I should call my video Processing the Past, and the reason I want to talk about this is because a lot of times the advice I get is, either you shouldn't be dwelling on it or maybe you just need to forget about it. And I feel like that advice isn't very helpful. It doesn't really resolve anything. And so I feel like the best thing to do is process the past. Like if it keeps coming up in your memory, if it's still affecting you somehow, it means that it's unresolved. It's kind of like when you eat food, your body digests most of it, but not all of it comes out. You end up with dried up, stuck old poop. And that's kind of how this stuff affects your psyche, or maybe even your energetic body. So, so if you look at like Chinese medicine and stuff, you kind of want to work out your psychology and your issues, because it also can cause blockages throughout your energetic body. So anyways, it's really important to process old issues instead of dwelling on it. It's good advice not to dwell on it to the extent that you definitely don't want to live in that state of emotion that was produced by the experience. For example, something that happened more than 20 years ago, I probably shouldn't be angry about it. And so I shouldn't be angry about that experience itself, but if for some reason it's connecting to my current experience, like it's still an ongoing issue. For example, maybe I feel frustrated because I feel like I'm almost there. Like, I've explained in other videos, Bill Leeb is like the subject in my videos used to tantalize me. He's just like right there at my fingertips, but you can't quite reach it. It's just like, it kind of teases me a little bit. And that's where we're like, well, maybe there are angels and demons and you're under attack by the devil. Maybe this is meant to make me fight and make me, misdirect me in my life's mission or something, because if you look at Bill Leeb, he's always going around like this, right? So maybe because Bill Leeb is satanic, he's a perfect subject to tantalize and, tempt me and all this stuff. So it's like tempting me into sin, like, hey, Jody, how would you like to get with a married man? Right? So, it's fun to process it now. It's like half my lifetime plus. And, but it does still affect me. And that's where, I kind of want to wrap this up and move on, because when I get to where I moved to Montana and some of the stuff today, there are still things that have yet to unfold, and I'm still kind of testing some of the things, to be honest. So, maybe before I share what those are, we'll let them unfold. But at the same time, there might be a few things I'm going to share anyways, just to help demonstrate the gift of prophecy. If it could be the gift of prophecy under attack, right? So I could be in training to be a better channeler, but at the same time, I really need to learn who I'm communicating with. That's really the problem. This is why the Christian people will tell you, automatically, stay away from things like divination. Trying to communicate with the spirit world can put you in danger, because if you can't see who you're talking to, just like we tell you, don't talk to strangers. When you're a kid, you don't want to, somebody might come up and be all sweet and nice and offer you candy, but then they're going to abduct you into their white van, and Lord knows what's going to happen next, right? So dealing with the spirit world, yeah. And if you're a clairvoyant under development, it can drive you crazy if you don't get the right help. And so that's my friend Rosie Clearlight told me, is she really wanted to help me, because she knows that if you don't have the right guidance when you're a clairvoyant in development, yeah, it can drive you crazy, because the people around you don't know what's happening to you. And so you're going to get a lot of generic advice like, well, just forget about it, just forget about it. And then when you're talking about bad experiences, just forget those. Well, there's a saying that you should know history as not to repeat it. So that's why we should not forget about Tiananmen Square. We shouldn't forget about, the Holocaust, stuff like that. The protests that got shot down back in the 60s or 70s, things like that. We should remember that stuff, so, we quit doing it. But we shouldn't stay in the state of anger or whatever. And so, like, if I talk about my life and how I was brought up, that's just the deal I got. This is my life. And what I can do with it, it can make it a positive thing, or dwell on it and be angry for the rest of my life, right? But let's say, you're still in contact with somebody who hurt you a long time ago, and they still have some of the same tendencies, and you're still seeing some of the same patterns. It might keep you angry about that part of that person's personality. So anyways, let's see here. I wanted to make a checklist. That there's a few things I want to talk about where it seems like I'm talking about, man, I went through this really bad experience. I've had a lot of depression to deal with, but so I wake up in the morning feeling kind of angry about this stuff. Sometimes I wake up and I'm just like pissed off that, why is Bill Leeb being kept from me after all this stuff and things like that. But then throughout the day, I kind of start to remember why I'm here and everything, and I start getting happy, and I realize, well, things are working out better than they should be. Maybe I should start counting my blessings and stop complaining. Okay, so my dad and I stay in touch quite a bit, and he actually likes to text me and just tell me, oh, guess what, I'm listening to Cabaret Voltaire today, or and he's listening to Kevin Key, and my mom is sleeping, and he thought, I wonder if it affects her, like if she's dreaming and stuff, and I'm playing this music, and if it goes into her subconscious or anything like that. And I said, if so, that would be appropriate. I mean, after all, isn't there label called Subcon Records and stuff, And so I just kind of got on that trip about, like, well, think about it, like, Genesis Peorage was Psychic TV, and Kevin Key was Subconscious Records. All these people seem to, like, be, major advocates for psychic awareness and real magic and everything, right? The psychedelic experience included. The psychedelic experience is really a psychic experience, so it goes hand in hand. And so I come along and I want to talk about what I've experienced, and I'm not getting a lot of help. I feel like I'm being silenced, and I think the reason I'm being silenced is because of the nature of the visionary state experiences that I've had, and the little storyline in it, especially with the Bill Leeb stuff and all that, like. And so that's what I'm trying to say. I feel like it was kind of designed that way. Like it was supposed to, like the beings that are giving me the visions. So I've had a little taste of, okay, you can see the future, you can see potentialities, you can see how people are gonna act, right? So, kind of being like, come on, Jody, come on. Using Billy to lead me in. I probably wouldn't have gone as far, and I wouldn't even be here to discuss this, right? I wouldn't have gone as far. And, going in there and meeting Bill Leeb and his wife and all these people, like, it was like a setup, like the spirits could see those potentialities, So it was meant to be like that. It was meant to create a situation where, I'm gonna have this experience. I really want to talk about it. Like, I know there's something really interesting going on. I can't help but talk about it. I can't, help but bitch about it too. Like, I'm really frustrated too. And people don't like that. People are like, Jody, just forget about Bill Leeb and move on, okay? Just move on. So that's really hard because it's like, that's why I'm like, well, you got to hear the whole thing. You got to hear the whole thing, and then you'll see, you know, how it gets to me. Because like so I feel like industrial music, the community, you know, the people that are in it and the people that are attracted to it. Like, so whether you're one of the guys that are doing the music, maybe you're an artist or a writer, film producer, just people that are really into this music scene, the DJs, the people that go to the club, all the concerts, people like me, my dad, people that feel a connection to the industrial music community. If you've been living your life without having a supernatural experience or anything like that, then you're doing something wrong. I feel like, you know, I don't know if my experience is like the coolest thing to talk about or whatever, but you know, the fact that I've had a visionary experience or like seen real supernatural stuff or whatever, plus the nature, like, okay, it's really interesting if you think about what are they doing with me, you know, like, I don't know, it's kind of like when you take two kittens, you know, and you like rub their paws together and then they start fighting. Ugh! You know, it's kind of like, yeah, you know, so it's kind of like me and Carol Ann or whatever, you know, like, you're going to take Jody, you're going to take Carol Ann, and they're going to like use Bill Leeb against them. And like, you know, it's like, so anyways, that's why I feel like, you know, it was sort of like, it's like there's really no one to blame. I don't know. It's just sort of the dynamics of the community, you know, coming into this club or coming into this bar and meeting these people. So, and so that's where I feel like, okay, whatever's doing this is using potentials like Bill's personality. So that's where I ended off with my last video. It seems like Bill's personality is kind of a secretive person and he lies about a lot of things. And so, so he's a very complicated person to deal with because, like, it seems like the whole problem is like when I had the chance to talk to him and his wife at the same time when we were standing shoulder to shoulder, we didn't do it. We didn't communicate 100%, and that's where it left a lot of holes for all this type of stuff to happen, you know. So it's sort of like enabling this possibility here by, you know, like if we would have just communicated. So that means there's a conversation I'm going to have about spirit law, which is super basic. It's about communication and friendship. So say example, me, Bill, and Carol Ann, we communicate and we clear off the fear pattern, you know. So we're just not afraid of each other. We understand each other, and it would have been resolved. But because no communication, then it's like, you know, somebody's an enemy and somebody's trying to sabotage me, you know, and I want to fight back. So it creates a need to fight. So very important conversation we're going to have about what spirit law is and how it applies in everyone's life, including a goth person or somebody that listens to industrial music. Now, if you go back in my videos, I did a conversation about meeting Juan Long. So I think after we discovered Frontline Assembly and before I really knew who Bill Leeb was, I had like a couple more visions of Billy, you know, the version of Bill Leeb who's only 2 years older than me. So now, in reality, at the end of 5th grade, I had this boyfriend named Juan Long. And he was kind of popular. Now, the funny thing is, Juan is a Cuban boy, but I think, you know, he looked maybe more like a white kid with a little bit of a tan to him. And he looked very similar to Bill Leeb, so he was a perfect candidate to be the person. Like, I went to his house and I had a vision about Bill Leeb. Okay, so here's the thing. Now, Juan's kind of a bad boy that sits in the back. So the cool kids sit in the back. And the bus driver is always like, Juan, do you want to go to the office? Right? And so, well, anyways, you know, Juan used to do in front of the other kids is call me ugly. Like, you know, I'm walking out of the bus and he's screaming out the window, hey, ugly! Right? So, you know, I was sort of like targeted and stuff. And here's the funny thing also, like those first few visits with Billy when I was in kindergarten, he and I had a fist fight. Well, a few years later, you know, I was trying to go over to that other bus stop to what you call get away from the bullies, which is funny because I also saw Billy over there one time. He's like, Jody, go back to your bus stop. And I remember that, man. So it's kind of funny that, again, there's another link. You know, I was trying this other bus stop. Billy's telling me, Jody, you go back to that other bus stop. And then I meet Juan. And so Juan was calling me ugly, ugly, ugly. And so I came at him trying to throw punches. And he took a step back and did a nice snapping front kick right to the solar plexus. and it hurt so much. And by the way, that's when I decided I should learn karate. I was pretty impressed by it as much as that hurt. And strangely, after calling me ugly, after even hurting me, okay, one day I'm getting off the bus and not Billy, but Juan, ha ha ha, the real person in real life, comes over to me and we're walking along. And he tells me, Jody, how would you like to be my girlfriend? I just need like a practice girlfriend, nothing serious. And he explained to me, because I told him, what, you're always calling me ugly and all this stuff. And he said, I didn't mean it. I was just saying that to impress the other kids, because you're not very popular. So I have to, he's like telling me he's got a reputation. He's trying to protect that reputation by, behaving like that. So, but in reality, he's always liked me. And what he wanted me to do, if I want to be his practice girlfriend, then I have to go over to his house and I have to kind of sneak over there without people seeing us going together, and then he'll meet me there. And so me and Juan were to the point where we were on the couch holding hands, and we would always watch the Smurfs so we could sit on the couch and start holding hands, and we were working up to that first kiss, And then Lamar came over. Now Lamar lived on the other corner of the same block that I thought Billy lived on. And Lamar was interested in having sex with me. Well, later on, he and I would have sex. In fact, just for fun, I'll tell you about that. I don't know, maybe a few years later. Maybe I was like 16 or so. And me and my cousin Nessa sneaked out, and we were hanging out at this little church off of Fifth Avenue. I think we were like, there's like this little patio with a cover over it. And we're all like, I don't know if we had alcohol and cigarettes and all that stuff, and just being bad kids. And I don't know if it was truth and dare, but I think somebody dared us to have sex on the church. So me and Lamar climbed up on the roof and we did it doggy style. Well, thankfully I wasn't attached to him, so I wasn't upset about that. Because of that potential that we were going to do it, this is where it ties in, So me and Juan were holding hands. We're getting really close to that first kiss. And then Lamar comes over. He's somebody who I was going to potentially have sex with later. And so Lamar came over and he got really close that time, Like he was interested. And then the very next visit, I come over, and that's when Juan has me go in his bedroom, and he sends Billy in there. So that's why I think it's very interesting how this stuff plays out. That's just another example where, like, this is sort of where the relationship I had with Juan is like Bill Leeb now. So when I'm talking about the time we met at the Netherworld and we didn't communicate, well, Bill has a rule like Juan's, like, and so his wife told me later he didn't want to announce his marriage to the fans because in the music business they believe that if you appear to be single, that it helps to sell more music because then more women are interested in you, right? And so and then later on, when he had that girlfriend Amelia, even after putting her picture, even after making his album, right, it still had the policy that they don't want their relationship to be known. So Amelia would tell me, Jody, that's my boyfriend, please don't talk to him. So she sees me as somebody that, I'm not allowed to talk to him, or it's adultery for him because apparently I'm interested and he shouldn't talk to me. And then I talked to Bill, and it's like, I'm not even in a relationship. I don't even want a relationship, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, well, dude, you better explain that to Amelia. She's telling everybody you guys are engaged to get married, right? And so I find out in real life, that Bill Leeb does have this personality or this policy that he wants to keep the relationship private because he has to protect his reputation. Boom. So there's all that. So there's a parallel in that where in reality, Bill Leeb acts like he doesn't like me. He tells people I'm ugly. He could be just like Juan Long, secretly he likes me, but he's got to protect his reputation. Otherwise, he'd be more than happy to slip off somewhere and, have me audition for his band. So, anyways, gotta share this video. Not video, this picture of, now, one thing I learned is that, I need to have a demo and a portfolio, so I got to share this joke because I met this guy named Kyle, at Guitar Center, and he claimed to be involved with Delirium, that he's a didgeridoo player and he plays synthesizer. And so he told me that he could give me a phone number to contact Bill Leeb because I said I was interested in working with him one day. And so Cal said, okay, once I give you this phone number, you're going to call it and you're going to leave a message and then they're going to get back to you on Friday of that week. That's just how they operate. And he's like, so do you have a demo and a portfolio? And I'm like, well, no. Then he quit taking my phone calls and I couldn't get a hold of him ever again. Well, this is how Jeremy got involved with Frontline Assembly. So Billy was hanging out at his apartment one day, and Jeremy just showed him his demo, right? So that's an advantage he has that I don't have because I don't live in Vancouver, unless Bill does come to Denver quite a bit. I didn't have the same opportunity as Jeremy, and not only that, but I think it's a little bit safer for Bill to get involved with a young man because if he's having a problem with his marriage because of this girl, Amelia, okay. So, like, he got caught with this girl by his wife, right? So maybe that's where Bill thought, well, maybe I should find myself a little boyfriend. She won't know a thing, right? So, yeah, I wasn't able to, it's like, hey, Bill, you should come to my house. Let me show you my demo, huh? Right? Or like that chick Nudia, man. She had those nice lips, you know, like she probably let Bill come to her house to show her the demo. Right? So she probably gave him a pretty good demo. I don't know if he was coaching or not, but like I kind of gave Bill a bunch of crap about that girl because I felt like, you know, he supports people like her, you know, and like so she's making electronic music and she's promoting it with her lips and her boobage. How do you like my boobies, you know? And it's like, well, that's fine if you're selling pornography or something, but like, you know, we're talking about electronic music and all I give a crap about is like, okay, if I put the record in the record player and the shit is dope, I really don't care if you have nice tits, okay? And I don't give a fuck if you have a nice package or if you're handsome or if you're going bald, you know? So if you can write the dopest techno, I'll play it again and again. I don't even give a damn if you're single or married, if you're, you know, I mean, it doesn't matter. So that's where I feel like, you know, it kind of goes against the mentality of industrial music, kind of like, you know, commercial music and the stuff that's out there. It's all part of cultural engineering and this and that, and it's all about the pretty princess, you know, the Hollywood model. And that's where I feel like, you know, it doesn't make sense why someone like Bill Leeb would buy into that whole mindset of, you know, I'm a rock star, I gotta have a model. Ah! So I feel like dude's listening to the wrong people. I sure wish he had better friends. And then, you know, he gets with like people like Amelia and Jeremy. These people aren't gonna see anything wrong with what he's doing. They don't know any different. They're just like, oh, Bill, you're just cool, dude. Yeah. You know, so like, you know, a real friend is somebody that is going to tell you, you know something, Bill? I don't understand it. You know, what are you doing? You know, somebody should have told him, man, you don't have to think like that. I mean, you know, like, that's why, you know, when I found out Bill Lee was upset that somebody made a video of him and you could see how old he is, I'm like, this is industrial music. You don't have to worry about that. People admire you. Like, you're going on 70 and you're still doing it. That's pretty badass. And, you know, he looks like he's going on 70. But, you know, he's a good-looking man, and, you know, when people get older, you always see that in them, especially, you know, if you have a good eye for it. But, you know, you shouldn't judge, ew, he looks, oh, that's really shallow, and that doesn't really belong in our community. We shouldn't really, you know, like, laugh at people because they've aged, you know, like, well, you're gonna age too, you dumb fuckers. And not only that, like when Peter Murphy had a car accident, nobody felt bad that he had a drug addiction and depression and all these issues, but the thing that people were most upset about was that he was driving a Subaru. He was driving a Subaru and he wasn't in the back of a limo? Well, come on, he should be in the back of a limo sniffing lines of coke and dating pretty models, not driving around like a fucking tweaker in a Subaru. So it's like, you know, kind of me coming into Bill Lieb's, crossing path with Bill Lieb in part, you know, it has so much to do with me wanting to go into industrial music and stuff and having to realize what kind of a scene I'm born into here, right? So anyways, I want to talk about the album they did that year. If I can find it. Hey, I'm in Mirror Vision, but this is called Implode, and it was kind of cool that song Prophecy was brought up in one of my visions, but then I decided the other day to open this up and look at the lyric book, you know, and I was going through a lot of these lyrics, you know, and I don't know, it just seems like it's a lot of hopelessness in this album, and if you think about it, this is what he released in 99? 99 and 98 and 99, I was also going through my little situation. And so something to think about is, you know, hey, you know, I might have my hopeless feelings and stuff. And, you know, when people write music like that, you're just like, well, you know, he's just writing music for the audience. But you want to look back at people like Ian Curtis. Now, Ian Curtis was a young guy for how intelligent he was and how precocious he was, you know. He seemed like an old man in a young body, you know. At any rate, after he died, though, you know, Peter Hook and them were just like, you know, we thought that was just lyrics, you know, we thought he was just writing music for other people to relate to. We didn't really think he was that depressed, you know. And so that's what I want you to take in consideration for Bill Leeb as well. Like, you know, when I met Bill Leeb, you know, they had just released Delirium Karma, which was a really uplifting and beautiful album. You know, it was more like Bill Leeb's feminine spiritual side, and I really actually appreciate a lot of those tracks. You know, I feel like it kind of like goes hand in hand with my crazy spiritual stuff, like going out of body like a firefly every night, and Silence, seeing Bill Leeb in the white light. And so it was an amazing album, and he made a lot of money by bringing Sarah McLachlan on, so you'd think he would be as happy could be, you know. But at the same time, his wife is like, hey, you know, I have expectations to meet. Hello, you know, like, we've been waiting for this money to come. And so in 98, I think Bill Leeb was taking an interest in other women. And, you know, so that's where I feel like, well, maybe Bill Leeb doesn't want to be married, you know. He wishes he didn't get married, even though it's a good person and she's probably been very helpful to him. When I met him, so the reason I'm coming under attack, so this is where processing the past is useful, right? I didn't understand it at the moment, and later on I'm like, oh, well, it's his wife, but then now that it's further away, like, I'm just coming to realize, oh, okay, so I'm like a scapegoat, you know, kind of like there's a parallel to my upbringing, you know, just being rejected in the past, you know, maybe this is all just to create another rejection experience. It's just like Jody. So, like, meeting these people, it's like, I end up being told, Jody, you're mentally ill. Jody, you're crazy, da-da-da-da-da. So I got to go back and reflect. Why am I so crazy? Why am I so crazy? Well, anyone would be crazy if you were treated like a reject all your life, you know, happen to be called ugly, crazy, and this thing all your life, you know, that's not going to help. That's not going to do any good for your mental wellness. Now, what mental wellness is, if you generally feel good, then you have a pretty good state of mental health or mental wellness. But you could be someone like me, you know, I think I have a pretty good time, I have fun, and I do things that are fun, but I still have times of depression, you know, and rage, or just, you know, not really being happy with my life, and, you know, that should come and go for a normal person, but when it sticks too long, and it affects you too much, and it hinders your ability to really just function to the fullest, right, then you're dealing with something that you could call it mental illness, or it's bad mental health. So we're having a mental wellness issue if that's the case. So well, like, making albums like this, there's probably so many people out there who are feeling hopeless for some reason or another. A lot of us in the industrial music community are truthers, right? And so along with that, okay, we should say praise for all the good things in our life. There's a lot of good things about your life. But if you're aware, then you also know about a lot of bad things. Maybe you've had bad things to your life, right? So that you have to process your bad experiences. But we're also talking about the world. Like, you find out about things in the world, like, you know, there's human trafficking, there are people throwing puppies off of bridges, and there are people blowing places up. Like, these people were trying to have a techno party, and Hamas came and blew them the fuck up. And wow, you know, it's really upsetting. You know, what if this happens to you? You know, be fucking pissed, right? So just, you know, everyone has to deal with hopelessness and despair, you know. So So it's kind of a you know, everybody issue, but like when you have a bad case of depression, it's a little more concentrated, a little more harder to work out. But anyways, I wanted to talk about how Bill Leeb wrote that album because it seems to be coinciding when we intersect now. Um, and so like so what's going on here? What's I'm looking at my list again for some more direction here. So I was talking about how it like makes me reflect on my upbringing, right? It's like so in my personal life I have to go back and say, you know, I got to resolve all this stuff, right? You know, like maybe how I was brought up or whatever. So like when I look back at my life, it's kind of funny how I had that fight with Billy, and it kind of made me think of my mom and dad's relationship, you know. So it could be stuff like that, like, you know, being used to make me look at what's happening in my life, you know. But boy, it's like I'm kind of having a hard time with the notes here. Oh, I know why, because I moved it. Shut up talk. I had a note in here. I call it shut up talk when people try to tell you to shut up, pretty much by saying, you know, forget about it and move on. You know, you shouldn't look in the past. You should only look forward and all this stuff. So again, we want to know the past. We want to remember the past as not to repeat it, but we don't want to stay depressed, right? So I have to reflect on my childhood. I have to get over it and just count all my blessings and look at all the potential we've got here, right? So that's pretty good. But like, let's see. Anyways, that's what I'm saying about what. So I was kind of drawn into not only kind of get a feel for like what the music scene is like, but maybe I need this message from Carol Ann. You know, that Jody, you are mentally ill. So that's like, I feel like the biggest message from her. And then so other people kind of support her too, you know, so she got a lot of support, you know, because there were already people there who didn't like me. And it seems like, you know, Bill Leeb kind of has no choice but to go along with her. Like if he wants to hang out with me, you know, maybe like he would have been happy to hang out with me and go to my house and stuff. But like, she's like, no, dude, you're going to stay away from Jody because she's crazy. And all these other people were kind of taking sides with her and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it was like going to that bar and meeting those people, you know, that was kind of pivotal in my story, you know, and it kind of brings me back to, you know, what's the purpose of making me aware of mental illness. And then you look at, well, in ways, that's kind of what industrial music is about, is looking at our own mental illness, you know, and post-traumatic post-traumatic stress of the soul, as I call it, right? And so anyways, I think I really wanted to do this conversation to talk about, you know, kind of the negative part of it that I have to work through, you know. So this is where people all want to give me advice, you know, like, well, I feel like somehow this has made me aware of that hopeless feeling. And you look at the album and the music he's writing, it's like boom, it goes right hand in hand with the issue. But why am I being kept from this conversation, you know? I think it's a complicated conversation, and so it depends on what you're open to. Like I'm going to visionary state, and maybe another being communicates through the visions, or multiple beings, and so that's kind of interesting. And I think that should be, you know, something that, you know, if you're a part of the industrial music community, you shouldn't really laugh at me or judge me and try to say, you know, oh Jody, that's just absurd. You know, I feel like this should be kind of normal to somebody that's in the industrial music. But the thing is I'm being directed to meet a married man. So this is kind of like in the Christian eyes, you know, it's kind of funny. So I go to Bible study just because I'm a theologist at best. But, you know, I do enjoy, you know, contributing to others' prayer and sending people upwards. And I like to help sending people to heaven, see. Now, in doing these Bible study, the thing we've been talking about is adultery and not buying into it and stuff like that. So that's exactly what I feel like these visions are asking me to do, is like, hey Jody, we've got this really attractive married man for you, how would you like this? So so in resolving that, it's like, you know, if there's any, if we're not supposed to meet each other and get married, this was all meant to just sort of make us fight, you know, create a scenario to work out of and stuff like that. So like the way I feel about the marriage thing, though, is like I don't really believe in marriage. I believe in love, though. I believe in friendship. Like like the way I feel about Bill Leeb, honestly, is if he wanted to know me, he would know me the rest of his life, because I think I love him, at least as just somebody who's welcome to be a part of my life. You know, it doesn't have to be we need to get married. You know, but the problem is I've said all this stuff, and I feel like that way, like, he can't talk to me now because that would make it adultery. And the person he's married to, I'm kind of thinking when I met him, he was realizing he doesn't really want to be married for some reason, and so it was kind of like he was self-sabotaging. You know, sometimes we do that, like when I wanted to quit working at Sweet Peaks, I didn't want to quit because I was making really good money there, and I couldn't afford to quit. But I was really getting sick of the boss, so I started doing self-sabotage, and I made her fire me because I pushed her too far, because I was losing my patience with her because she was being a bleep. She was not taking my phone calls, and she was making excuses like, I'm very busy, I've got too many people contacting me, and making excuses, and that's why I don't work there and stuff like that. So but like, he got back with his wife, and at first I was sort of happy for him, and then I mentioned it to Rosie. I should be happy for Bill Leeb, and I shouldn't worry about him anymore, because now, you know, I think Carol Ann's like an old friend of his, and instead of running around with these stupid fucking hookers, you know, and gold diggers, you know, I shouldn't worry about him no more. He should be set, you know. So let it be that it is, and congratulate them. But Rosie, I showed some pictures of Carol Ann and made her aware of it, and she's like, yeah, but Jody, she looks like she's the kind of person that likes to punish, you know, like she could really punish somebody, you know, like kind of like a strict school teacher, you know, or something. And I'm like, yeah, you know, and I kind of let that set in for a while, and so like that's where I'm a little bit concerned for Bill Leeb. Like, if he's in a relationship where he feels afraid or intimidated by his wife, like and the extent that like he would like to talk to me, but he can't, because then she's going to accuse him of adultery, and that could be very costly, you know, especially because of the things that I've said. So you can't be caught reciprocating anything that sounds romantic or I love you and this type of thing. I always said, I always thought Bill Lee was the cutest guy I ever knew, so I call him Curly Q. But you know, now that I've gone and said all that, so that's where like it's like really hard to read it. So there's stuff that has yet to unfold, and there's I'm going to share one prophecy is that Bill Lee doesn't really want to be married to Carol Ann, and that he will leave her. So because I think it's like a prison sentence, in my opinion. So I really don't know these people that closely. I don't know what their life is like, but on an intuitive level, I think it's a dour existence, you know, and that maybe it seems very structurally sound and stuff like that. But my intuition and my guidance is telling me this is something where I think if you're in a relationship with somebody where you think you have to be careful everything you do because they might hire an undercover detective and you could be under surveillance at the time, that sounds like it would be very unhealthy for you. If you kind of sense this is happening all the time and you're trying to play along and be nice, you know, that can only go so far, right? So anyways, I want to have respect for people who get married, and if they're happy together, I want to, you know, more power to them. But like, if there's any truth to my intuition, you know, like if Bill Leeb is suffering, and maybe that the reason he needed to hear from me is so I could say, hey, listen, this is my point of view. Maybe, you know, it matters, you know, like there's other people in the world that love you very much, and I don't know if I'm really good marriage material. I can understand I'm not really good marriage material for a lot of reasons, and so I can understand if he didn't fall in love with me and marry me. But at the same time, you know, it really hurts my heart to think I think he's one of my favorite people, and I care about him enough that it hurts my heart to think he's in a relationship where he's constantly being monitored, and maybe the woman's really strict, and she might have a queen-like personality, like, you know, if you're going to be married to me, you're going to kiss my ass, you know, that type of thing. Some people fall into those patterns, you know, because they feel like, I don't know, like somehow that person like has that sense of superiority or supremacy, and that other person wants to follow them. Or so I see relationships like that. It could be either or. Sometimes the guy's the leader, sometimes the girl's the leader, and in order to be in that relationship, you kind of have to follow the leader. So I don't know if that's the kind of relationship they have, but I just feel like my precept, like like I lived with Rosie and Gary till the end of their life, is I think that especially when you're getting older, I really want people to have fun for the rest of their life. And I really don't want Bill Leeb to live a dour existence for the rest of his life. So so if there's any truth in what I'm saying, I don't have a lot of respect for the marriage, but again, everything's going good. I mean, if it's truthfully a good relationship and everything's right, I want to say more power to you. At any rate, I just wanted to share about these hopeless feelings and how it ties in with, maybe there's my own personal journey. Maybe Billy has his own personal journey, and when we intersected in 98 and in 99, he was dealing with these issues. And you look at those lyrics, this is somebody who might feel like they're just really not happy in their life. Like, I don't want to be married. I don't want to be stuck on this train, and like, in order for him to get her to, so between being divorced and being married, she's always kind of had her hooks in him. So it's just like, well, she's got her hooks in me. I have no choice but to surrender. So, I do love Bill Leeb, and he is welcome to be a friend of mine for the rest of my life. But again, for all those people that want to give me advice, I don't expect anything. I don't expect him to do anything for me. I don't expect him to care about me. But anyways, I'm making these videos. It's been an important part of my life, going through the visionary state, being directed to meet Bill Leeb, and then having to reflect on this. So like, if later on this results in me making music, maybe this is a good indication that I do need to take myself seriously as an artist, and I should go to work, and then maybe I can show Billy my demo without having to undo my pants. Ha ha ha! At any rate, yes, go back to those old stories. He made me sing on the microphone. Well, not until he divorces the ex-wife or whatever, then I will sing on the mic. No, just kidding. At any rate, you guys, I have a bad sense of humor. I should probably end this video before I get myself dug any deeper into trouble. Have a nice day. I'll talk to you soon.